Welcome to today's episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. My name is Adam Brsan.
And I'm Chris Smith.
If you've yet to do so, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And if you love this podcast, don't forget to share it with a friend or colleague. We greatly appreciate your help and support.
All right, welcome to Dynamic Friday number 3. So good morning and welcome into Dynamic Friday number 3. I'm excited to be on with you today and hopefully inspire you out the front door. Hopefully inspire you to pick up the phone or whatever your business model is and motivate you to push towards that goal just one day longer. That's it. Like, you've got one day to make it happen. And many of you have written 3,000 in a day, 5,000 in a day. Heck, we have agents that have written 10,000 in a single day. So why not make that day today? We will also take a few minutes of your morning to educate you on some thoughts, some concepts, and some methods that will help you make more money. Plain and simple. There is a lot of fluff out there. There's a lot of jazz. There's a lot of talk. But the stuff that we're going to talk about today, things that actually happened in the field this week that you can learn from one person and take into another. Today, before we get into Adam's conversation, things that I've witnessed in agents over the course of the last 9 years in this business. And the fun part about these wins that I've witnessed, like all the things in business, is it didn't take any superhuman strength. It didn't take a spiritual gift. It didn't require good looks or a great voice. Just a great attitude, a consistent amount of effort, a massive level of activity, and the personal commitment necessary to never give up. Like, that one's extremely important. Let's touch on that for a second. The personal commitment to never give up. The only way you quit in this business, the only way you fail, the only way you're fired is when you give up on yourself. And that's an important thing to remember in those situations. So I have to share with you this morning some successes, some wins, some things that I've witnessed over the last 9 years that I think deserve some notice. And if you take just one of them and implement them into your business, it'll do wonders for your continued growth. So first one I have for you this morning may not be telesales friendly, but that's okay. I've got a few that would be. It's traveling outside your normal work area. This one's so incredibly important because this business can get boring. You're giving the exact same presentation every single time if you're doing it correctly. You're going to the exact same areas, going to the exact same convenience stores, stopping at the same Dunkin' Donuts, seeing the same people and the same smells. It can get incredibly boring. But traveling outside your normal work areas, working areas you've never worked before, can oftentimes be the biggest exercise in being uncomfortable. That's why it pushes you and makes you better so quickly, because it's that instantaneously uncomfortable. You don't have to get on a flight. You don't have to stay in a hotel. You can simply work a county over that you've never worked before. Get up an hour earlier and drive an hour further to an area you've never seen before. Change the scene, change the setting, and work an area you've never worked before. And guess what happens? That feeling of feeling stuck or stagnant instantly disappears. The success takes hold, and you write a winning story by just simply working somewhere you've never worked before. Next thing I have for you this morning. Telling others what you do is some of the biggest success stories I've seen agents do. Now, this isn't like a multi-level marketing, Primerica type thing, but it's the simple fact that the best way to grow, the best way to learn is to teach. The best way to stay focused and have a productive day in the field is to have somebody in the car with you. And telling others about what you do, taking them out and changing the trajectory of somebody else's life, I would bet that you on StreamYard, on Facebook, on Free Conference Call HD are in this industry because somebody else did the same thing for you. Very few people in this business find out about the insurance business, take the test, research an organization, and just start without some type of background influence taking place. You're here because a friend, a family member, or somebody you trusted, maybe even your parent, showed you the business and you took that ball and you ran with it. In fact, you're here with this agency probably because of something similar. So I would encourage you, as we talk about the biggest wins of people's careers, the biggest success stories, is to share your wins, share your successes. Heck, share your struggles too, and your dream of what you're looking to pursue and make happen could inspire somebody else to follow that exact same path. Next, on the list of the biggest wins and biggest successes that I've seen and witnessed in others is deciding that you're worth more than an hourly wage. This is a tough one for a lot of people I talk to, especially in the recruiting funnel that we work. They're working for $20 an hour, $30 an hour. Maybe they get a bonus when they sell a policy. But the moment you decide either to burn the bridge and never look back, when you decide you're worth more than $20 or $30 an hour, when you realize that even just selling one application pays you more than you would have ever made at any job and builds your business and not theirs, is when you have that opportunity to get bigger success and growth in your career. The only way to win in your self-employment, small business, entrepreneurial journey is to have no plan B, is to not have another job, is to make this a lifestyle, not just a 9 to 5. I could list the names of agents that were so close to a breakthrough over the course of our time as an agency, but they gave up and went back to a job. They gave up and settled for an hourly wage. They gave up and decided that they were worth whatever somebody else told them they were worth, and they gave up. Don't give up on yourself when you're so close to breakthroughs. Next, let's talk a little bit more practical about some of the biggest wins and successes that I've seen in people that wrote 5,000 a week, 7,000 a week, 10,000 a week. Those type of weeks that I witnessed didn't come from people writing IULs over the phone. It didn't come from people that stumbled their way into massive, fully underwritten cases, those unicorns you see once a year. These didn't come from large final expense cases, but it came from massive activity. Even wilder, some of the biggest 10K weeks I've ever witnessed didn't come from people working fresh direct mail. It came from leads that were weeks or months or years old. The crazier thing about many of the 10K weeks that I willed into existence in my first 1 or 2 or 3 years in the business is they came from purely door knocking. Now, of course, we've made things a little bit more effective with additional appointment setting, but appointment setting can't be a crutch that you base your success or your failures off of. You can door knock your way to a $7, a $10, a $12,000 week. You can route your leads, knock the doors, give the presentations, and push from the start of the week all the way to the end and achieve those record levels of production that you're fully capable of doing. Here's another big success that I've witnessed and observed in others, and it's the senior center presentation. Now, of course, maybe you can't give those over the phone. I understand, but you can give them when you're face to face. You can turn that kitchen table presentation into the activity room. You can go from sitting with Miss Johnson on her couch to sitting in front of 15 people that live in that same building, and all of a sudden see people that would have never filled out a direct mail card, that would have never responded to a Facebook ad, that would have never been serviced or helped if you didn't step out of your comfort zone and embrace a new level of success. I did it in my first year, and it's unfortunately something I lost the habit of doing. But I want to encourage people that are pursuing that early level of success that when you're in a senior building, when you've got that opportunity, that you set it up for the next week. Next, this works over the phone. This works in person. This works either way that you sell. The biggest success moments sometimes are not the biggest sales or the biggest weeks or the biggest months, but these micro moments in your career as well. It's your first add-on sale. It's the first time you sold a cancer policy, an accident policy, a Medicare Advantage plan, a Medicare supplement. It's an additional sale on top of what you're already good at. I can remember my very first add-on sale. I remember the moment I got my health license. I got set up with Aetna Senior Products on the health side. It's what we had most access to at the time. And the next opportunity I had, I was in the field and I was in an existing client's home. And I remember Mary Long in North Philadelphia. And she trusted me. She would have done whatever I ethically recommended. And when I recommended a $5,000 cancer plan for an extra $17 a month, it wasn't even a sale. It made sense to her. We got the application in, and guess what happened? You remember the story if you've been here long enough. That lady, Mary Long, ended up with cancer. That policy ended up paying a tangible cash benefit to her. And I hope that that story can extend to you and encourage you to find that first add-on sale and that micro success moment that you're fully capable of doing. Last one I have for you before we get into a breakdown on Adam's week, conversation about Everest and some long-form conversation today, is the biggest success moments that I've witnessed in people is when they've committed to something that's bigger than they feel comfortable doing. That when they've committed to something that they know is uncomfortable, that they've committed to something that might require a credit card to get started. If you were opening a business right now, a Chick-fil-A franchise, a fashion store, a coffee shop, a franchise of some other type, what you'd have to do? In many cases, start a small business loan. And in many cases, we're massively uncomfortable simply opening a small credit card to start on leads or to invest in the business or whatever it is. Committing to leads and appointments and investing past the point you think you're ready for can create some of the biggest success opportunities in your career. Maybe it's time for you to hire an admin to organize your book of business because you simply just don't have the time to do it. Committing past the point of being comfortable. Maybe it's time that you invested past the point you thought you had the money to do, but you won't reach that next level of financial growth without making this commitment. I can tell you something with full I can tell you something with full confidence right now. I would never be where I am right now with you on Facebook, with you on StreamYard, with you on Free Conference Call HD. I wouldn't be in this business, plain and simple, if I hadn't done it right from the very beginning. And I promise you, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that. Now, it's not too late for you, and many of you have fixed and made that adjustment over the course of the last 4 to 5 months. But the biggest success, the biggest wins come from betting on yourself. And you know what the best thing about that bet is? Is if you bet on yourself and you really believe in yourself and you're really taking that commitment seriously, that's a bet that you will never lose. Adam, hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. Hopefully one of those points connected with somebody today as we talk about the biggest success, the biggest wins that somebody can embody and embrace in their final expense journey with us. I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm excited to see what you have to share with us this morning.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. My week, well, I set goals. I always kind of know what I want to do for the week. And I always try to write a minimum of 5,000 in premium for the week. That's kind of like the bare minimum that I really want to focus on. I want to do more than that, but I'm happy to write 5,000. And again, I'm only out in the field Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So when I'm out in the field, I put the time in. I get up early, drop off my little boy at school at 8:30, and then I'm on my way to my first stop by 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock in the morning, usually wind up the day about maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock. Sometimes I get home about 8. Sometimes I get home about 9 o'clock or so. But that's the thing. Like I said, I put the time in those 3 days. So then Monday and Friday is more of like my office days where I work on stuff around the office when it comes to building the agency, working with agents, catching up on different things, adding new appointment contracts, just all that fun, busy stuff. But anyways, this week, my Tuesday was full of appointments. I order leads every week. We have our great appointment setting team that they really put the time in to set us up with as many appointments as they can. And I think this week I purchased like 20 leads. I might even have more coming to me this week, but I think I had 20 direct mail. Every week I'm purchasing between 20 and 30 new direct mail leads. So right there, that is about, I would say, a minimum of about an $800 investment every week. So right there, $800. Heck, if I write one app for the week or something, I'm just breaking even. So I got to think bigger. I got to write a lot more than that. And just everything else. Heck, I got a family of 6, including myself. I got 3 dogs. I got a turtle, and now we got a bird. Like all this stuff we don't need, but anyways, just added expense. Got a kid down in college, paying for tuition. Heck, I work as much as I can. I got to make money. So my Tuesday full of appointments, and you just never really know how things will go. Sometimes you could have a whole day full of appointments and things go well. Other times, just not a whole lot. And Tuesday, I had a couple appointments in the morning. I think by 9 a.m., I'm looking at my calendar right now. it's not on there anymore. So I'm thinking my 9 a.m. I must have rescheduled to another day. I must have showed up and the person must not have been able to meet with me or something at that time because they're not even on my schedule anymore. So I had a 10 a.m. appointment. Uh, oh yeah, okay. I remember now. Yeah, I did reschedule. I did talk to the guy at the 9 a.m. I think next week I'm going back. Just one that I was not able to close up right then and there, unfortunately. Uh, and then my 10 o'clock appointment, husband and wife, they already had a bunch of coverage. They were like in their 80s and they just couldn't really afford anything else. So didn't really get anything there. And then the next appointment, and I ended up writing a piece of business. This was my 11 o'clock. I tried writing one carrier. It went to like a graded. I didn't feel like the person was like in horrible health. She mentioned she had a few issues, but it didn't seem like anything that would push her to like a modified with a carrier or like a graded, but it did. So anyways, I ended up writing her a different carrier, and it went through, and she was approved standard the standard tobacco rate, which is first day coverage. The rate's a little bit higher, of course, for tobacco, but not a bad sale. Wasn't able to get her as much coverage as she would have liked. She wanted at least 10,000. I think I wrote her 8,000 because at her age, 8,000 was like $80 a month, and she just couldn't really afford more than that. But one thing, she had no insurance, and these days that's almost like a rarity. Like majority of the people I sit down with, it always seems like they have some sort of coverage already. And then that's where I have to kind of use my head and figure out ways to make this also make sense to the person. Also, always figuring out ways to make this different than what they already have, even if it's the same. Kind of hard to explain, but we'll be getting into that on the long form portion of the training today, kind of talking about doing a little bit extra. Anyways, I ended up writing that one. The rest of the day was a bit of a wash. I had a noon appointment. The lady, she was not fluent with English. I need to go back to meet up with her when one of her kids is around that is better with English. It just wasn't going to be able to get anywhere with her. So I moved on to the next, which worked out okay that I was only there for maybe 3 or 4 minutes talking to her on the front porch because I was already running behind after that appointment where the first carrier would not take the person first day. I had to switch gears and use another carrier, and that just ended up being a little bit time consuming. I was probably there for at least an hour and a half. So that put my schedule behind a little bit because I set my appointments up on the hour. So, I mean, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way through. Last appointment's usually at 6 o'clock at night. So then I had a 1 o'clock appointment that I showed up at, and that was a no-show. Nobody was there. Uh, Moved on to the next. Like I said, the rest of the day was just pretty much a wash. I talked to maybe one other guy later on at night that same thing, just couldn't get anywhere with. We have days like that. Fortunately, I was at least able to write that one. As I've said in the past, I can't stand uh, I can't stand showing up and not doing anything or having a day where I just don't write any business. Uh, I don't want my day to excuse me. I don't want my day to feel like a failure. And to me, if I'm out there for 10, 11, 12 hours sometimes, I just can't stand it. If I come home without a sale, my wife can't stand it either because I'm not in a very good mood when I get home. If I came home with nothing. So anyways, I was at least happy that I at least wrote the one 980 in premium. And then by Tuesday, I didn't have a whole lot of appointments set. Uh, I did some door knocking. I actually first thing in the morning I had to get my oil changed. So my 9 a.m. appointment was an oil change. Uh, and then one of my clients called me like a week or two ago, and this guy has had insurance with me for probably I bet 10 years. I bet he's got at least 5 or 6 policies with me. He's a really good guy. I mean, this guy, he cares about his family. He doesn't have a whole lot of money in savings, but he's putting money into these insurance policies that are going to help his family out when he's no longer here, outside of just covering his funeral expenses. I mean, he's just wanting to take care of them. So, so yeah, he's got a number of policies with me, and he called me about a week and a half ago, and he said, Adam, he said, I want some of your business cards. I want some of your business cards because I got some other friends that need insurance, and he said, so why don't you send me some business cards? And I said, how about I just come by? I'll pick you up. I'll take you out to lunch. And he was like, hey, that'd be awesome. So, I mean, this guy, like I said, he's had coverage with me for like 10 years. I mean, I appreciate his business, and he's a good guy. I figured, hey, what the heck? Let's sit down and have some lunch together. So I took him out to lunch. So that took a little bit of time too. I mean, I was with him for a couple hours, and I usually don't even eat lunch during the day. So, taking him out to lunch, and then I'm tired like the rest of the day because I just don't even I'm usually nonstop. I don't eat during the day. I just, if anything, I'll eat when I get home, when I'm done for the day. But then from there, same thing. Had a few appointments. I talked to people a little bit now about Medicare because I am getting into it. The open enrollment season is starting in October. Talked to another guy later in the day that I couldn't really get anywhere with yet with the final expense, but he is paying like $400 a month for a Plan F, his Medicare supplement, and he's like, man, this is just breaking me. And I talked to him a little bit about Medicare, and I told him I'd get back to him in a few weeks. And I figured, heck, if I could end up writing him even like an Advantage plan that would make sense to him, that would open up some money that he's paying $400 a month on his Medicare supplement, that I'll be able to then write the life insurance that he needs. Because right now he's like 83 years old. He can't handle a high premium, but heck, if I could save the guy $400, that's going to open up some money there. So yeah, so those are like little things I'm just kind of prospecting, I guess, taking notes for. And then from there, had another appointment that was in the books for 5 o'clock. That was actually set that day, and I showed up, and like the lady, she wouldn't even let me in the house. She was like, "Oh, I had no idea that's what this was about. They didn't really explain it well over the phone, and I just don't have time. You just need to get out of here. Like, I just don't have time for you today." I was just like, whatever, that's just kind of how my day's going. Uh, so my whole day Wednesday was like nothing. But then I got to thinking about it, and there was a guy last month that I tried writing with a company, and something had happened with like it was. I don't think it was like his bank account. I almost feel like their e-app was messed up or something at the time, and I couldn't get the business written that day. Like I would plug in the bank account, and like the thing just like froze. I just couldn't get anywhere with it. Tried calling the guy a few times throughout the month, and just he wasn't answering. And I knew he got paid on the third Wednesday of the month. So I figured, heck, you know what? The way my day is going, I'm going to go stop by that guy's house and see if I can make that one sale so I can go home in a better mood. And I was in the area that this guy was located in anyways. So I dropped in on him, and he even said, "Hey, Adam," he said, "Man, I'm glad you're here. I know we never got that insurance done." And he said, "Yeah, I still want it. So come on in, let's get it done." I said, "Good." I said, "I remembered you got paid on the third Wednesday, which is today. So figured you'd have the money." He said, "Yeah, it's perfect. The money's there now. Let's get this thing started." So anyways, I ended up with my one sale on Wednesday. So like I said, that's minimal. My goal is to write like at least 2,000 in premium every day. So yeah, my first 2 days were a bit of a struggle. Wrote a couple apps, and then yesterday, I don't know what it is. I think when it's like crunch time, when I know it's my last day out in the field for the week, and I'm nowhere near the goal I want to hit, I really just, I don't know, I just have like that laser focus even more than the other 2 days. Because like I said, I'm usually like pretty nonstop as it is, but I'm going to do whatever I can to find some sales in that last day of the week. So yeah, first one, I was door knocking some leads. I didn't have much of anything set yesterday when it came to appointments. I had like one appointment later in the day, but outside of that, it was pretty much just door knocking. So I had one that was an app that I wrote last month that went to a modified with a carrier that kind of like the same thing as similar to Wednesday, where I just wasn't able to get the person in touch with the person. I door knocked her, was able to get in, and I got her approved first day coverage with Baltimore Life. So she was happy. Again, these are situations. It's like the people, they want the coverage. Sometimes things happen where maybe it just didn't work out on the first attempt, but their situation hasn't changed. So I went back and I got it resolved. Like I said last week, I kind of had the same thing, like leaving money on the table. Why would I just want to like never go back and do something with that business when I knew they wanted it? And that's money to be made. And heck, I'm helping people out with something that they need. So I ended up writing that one, 790 in premium. And then the next one, same thing. I was kind of door knocking. I was in an area where a lady that I wrote a policy with a few months ago had lapsed. She actually called me earlier in the week, and I called her back like the same day. And then she was like, "Oh, hey, Adam, sorry, I don't have time right now. Let me call you back." And she never called me back after she had called me. I figured I'll just drop in on her. So I dropped in on her yesterday afternoon. And same thing. I mean, she had some health issues, but was able to get her approved first day with Baltimore Life. And that one was close to 1,200 in premiums. So right there, I mean, I wrote more just in those two applications that I did my first 2 days out in the field. My last sale of the day was one that was a set appointment. So I finally got something off of the appointments for the week. Uh, it was a set appointment. The lady already had coverage. She wasn't really super interested in more coverage. And that's when I brought up what we're going to talk about in a few minutes. I brought up like the Everest funeral concierge service. And I mentioned to her the way I always bring it up. She already mentioned to me early on in the conversation that her daughter is the one who just kind of helps with things, and that and she would be the one handling things for her. She's like her beneficiary on her other policy. So I asked her. I always ask in that situation. I say, okay, so has your daughter ever had to plan a funeral? And she said, no, she's never had to plan a funeral. And I said, well, what do you do? What do you think that day is going to look like for her when you pass away? And then, so right there, I'm like painting that picture. She's then thinking about it. And she's thinking about just how tough it's probably going to be on her daughter, because she told me about how her parents had passed away and she had to plan her parents' funeral and how difficult it was. So I just kind of feeded off that a little bit. And I went over the Everest, and she was all about it. She was like, man, that is, my one of my relatives, they had pre-planned their funeral. It made things so much easier. And I said, so that's what this is. Rather than doing it through the funeral home that could maybe go bankrupt someday and no longer be there, you can do this straight through us, through the insurance company, with this added concierge service. And if the funeral home's not there anymore, that doesn't matter. You can you can use this at any funeral home that you like. So went through, put a quote together with her with Everest, and she was just kind of heeing and hawing around, like, oh, I just don't know. I got to think about it. Blah blah blah. I ended up quoting her SBLI then because it was a little bit cheaper. She already had a $20,000 policy, so I quoted her SBLI. It was a little bit cheaper. And same thing. She was just kind of like, all right, well, it sounds good. I like it. I'll get back to you. And I told her, I said, well, I wish you could get back to me, but I'm only allowed one visit. And if we can't get it done today, well, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to help you with this. And she said, really? You're not going to be able to come back and help me? I said, well, no, I'm only allowed one visit. And to me, I'm being honest with her. I'm only allowing myself one visit. So that, to me, I'm not lying to her. I'm only allowing myself one visit, because the chances of writing business on a follow-up are slim to none. And I know that this one I probably would have never written. If I would have walked out that door, I probably would have never seen the lady ever again. But because I told her I'm only allowed one visit, we can't get it done today. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to help you. I was able to get it done. She moved forward with it. and she was happy that she made that decision to move forward. So, but yeah, I told her, and you know what? Heck, people think a lot of times these direct mail lead cards, like they think it's some sort of program through the state. I mean, I told her, I'm licensed with the state of Illinois, but so if anything, she thinks I have to report back to the state whether she decided she wanted to move forward with the plan or not. So, hey, whatever she wants to think. But like I said, I mean, it's just you got to do what you got to do sometimes to get the person to move forward, especially when they know they need it. And so that was really the end of my week. Yesterday really made up for the first 2 days. I think I ended up around 4,500 in premium after yesterday writing about 2,800 in premium. So, like I said, I like to end up around $5,000, a little bit under for the week, but that's all right. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good week. So
I took a bunch of notes. The fact that you said I'm only allowed one visit seems so simple. It seems so easy to brush over, but it seems so important because I've heard agents say all the time, well, I went to the door and they said, I got to come back. I'm busy. I'm only allowed one visit. Oh, I gave the whole presentation and she told me she needed to go over it with her son. I'm only allowed one visit. Like, I think if people would embrace just that one thing here today, they're going to make more money. You are really only allowed one visit unless you want to treat this like you're is not important to you. The amount of time you have in a week, 45 hours in a week. If you spend 2 of those hours with one person, even if that one person buys $1,000 a month AP policy, you shorted yourself 2 people with one visit. So don't allow yourself to be back multiple times for the same person. That was so golden. That might be the biggest takeaway.
yeah, the whole one, like I said, one visit. I mean, a few weeks ago, I was I don't know, I had maybe a half hour to kill, and I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna text all these people that told me they gotta think about it. People that I just couldn't get anywhere with. I'm gonna text all these people. Hey, I just following up. I was over, and I mean, I bet I texted. I mean, I had thousands of leads. I mean, I bet I texted maybe 30 people. I didn't get one person that replied back like, I'm ready to move forward. Uh, I mean, people, if you, like I said, it's like if you don't write that piece of business while you're there, you got to almost treat it like you're never going to see that person ever again. And that was really, like I said, the one that I wrote yesterday. Like I wanted to make another sale. I knew the person needed it. And I was just kind of sick of people putting stuff off like that. I don't use that as much as I need to, but now I'm going to pretty much all the time because uh, what do you have to lose? What's the worst thing that can happen? They tell you to screw off. You know, I mean, that's
I'd rather they tell me to screw off. Like, I need that level of
yeah,
finality in that moment to be able to move on to somebody else because it's a one call close. And if you sell it and they keep it, there's so many additional opportunities over the course of the rest of their life. But you, as an agent, as a personal producer in a one call close business, need the finality of being told yes or screw off. And that's really okay.
Well, look at it this way. If they tell you that they got to think about it, well, they're telling you to screw off anyways,
Yeah,
right?
it's very politely no.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So let's figure out a way to get them to move forward now because we're never going to see that person ever again.
I remember the
So,
first time I had a whole list of that to myself, a follow-up list. I thought, let's write them down. Let's go and we'll follow up with these people. And then I asked my original mentor about this idea, and he said it was a waste of time, which I eventually learned that it was. And he said those people that are telling you these things are really just too nice to tell you to screw off. So anything
mhm,
less than yes really is go screw off.
pretty much. So, like I said, um, that's why you just kind of have to get to that point. Like when you're spending money on leads, you want to get as much out of them as you can. And the people need it. So it's just a matter of, like I said, figure out a way for it to make sense to them. Sometimes you got to figure out a way to push forward a little bit. And I'm confident that business is going to stick. Like I knew she needed it. But sometimes that's just the whole, like I said, I don't know. Sometimes they're just hesitant to move forward. And I don't know why. I think majority of the time it's probably just about the money. fitting another bill into their budget. But heck, it's either you do it now or it's now or never. I mean,
Very
I
true.
even share stories with people about people, and these are true stories. I met with a lady about, I don't know, this was probably maybe a year ago, where we sat down, we talked about it. Same thing. I'm not ready yet. Give me a call in 2 weeks. And within those 2 weeks, her sister died. She was so upset, she ended up stroking out, like ends up in the hospital having a stroke. And then I couldn't do anything for her. So, I share that story with people. I tell them, look at like that actually happened. Like you just don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We don't know. Our health changes. It doesn't get any cheaper than it is right now. And right now I know you can get it and you're covered with it immediately. So why take the risk of something happening to you tonight, tomorrow, next week, and then you're stuck with what you have, which maybe isn't even anything.
Yeah, people don't appreciate on our side of the presentation how sick the people we present to are. Like they're not a healthy crowd of individuals, and we mean that in a loving and respectful sense. But their health changes all that quickly. I remember an agent that was trying to desperately get back on his feet was going back and trying to rewrite people because he had a better product and a lower price and a better option, and everyone that he ran into was sicker than the year before. Like that's what happens. And we have to speak that level of urgency to the people that don't understand that because they aren't giving presentations. They aren't living the life as an agent. Even the product availability. I mean, one of the biggest views we ever had was about how quickly this industry has been changing lately. The products you have in your bag right now may not be the products that are available to your client next week. The rates may be higher. The products may be stricter. They may be gone altogether. So what you have now really is the best opportunity for them to get what they need.
And this concludes another episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend or colleague, and if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, please leave those too. Any input is greatly appreciated. Thank you.